They said he'd never succeed. That he was slow, aimless, lost. His teachers mocked him. His classmates ignored him. And the world, it barely noticed him. But inside that silence, a storm was brewing. Welcome to the chapter, The Lost. This is the story of the man they called useless, until he redefined the universe. The failure nobody believed in. The boy sat alone, eyes fixed on the ticking clock. Each second passed like a question he couldn't answer. At age 7, Albert Einstein still spoke with hesitation. He repeated sentences under his breath, carefully choosing each word as if the world might collapse if he chose wrong. His parents were concerned. His teachers were worse. Slow, one instructor wrote on his report card. Mentally handicapped, another whispered to his mother. He was mocked by classmates, misunderstood by adults, and ignored in a system that praised obedience over originality. Albert didn't fit in, not in the noisy classrooms of Munich, and certainly not in the rigid halls of Luitpold Gymnasium. He wasn't lazy. He just didn't believe in memorizing what he didn't understand. When a teacher asked him to recite the dates of historical wars, he asked, "Why do they matter if no one remembers why they happened?" That question earned him a reprimand. By 15, Albert had dropped out of school entirely. He didn't rebel with noise. He rebelled with silence, long walks, deeper thoughts, and questions no one else dared to ask. He would sit by the river, imagining light as a wave he could ride. What would it feel like to chase a beam of light? Would time slow down? Would the world blur? His family moved to Italy for work. Alone, jobless, and rejected from technical universities, Einstein applied to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in Zurich. He failed the entrance exam. Still, one professor saw promise and offered him a second chance. He passed on the next try, but even there, Einstein wasn't popular. Professors called him disrespectful. He skipped classes. He challenged authority. After graduation, no one wanted to hire him. Not a single academic institution would take the risk. So he took a job at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern, examining technical documents and stamping approval on machines he didn't care about. The boy once called useless, now reviewed inventions he could have improved in his sleep. Yet, while others filed papers, Einstein scribbled equations in the margins. He thought about light, time, motion. The more he read, the more he questioned. Why did Newton's laws fail to explain the behavior of light? What if time wasn't constant? What if space wasn't fixed? By day, he was anonymous. By night, he was a silent revolutionary, an invisible mind waging war on the boundaries of classical physics. Nobody knew. To the world, Albert Einstein was just another civil servant in a cluttered office. No classroom. No title. No prestige. But inside that small room in Bern, something extraordinary was taking shape, quietly, patiently, dangerously. The man once called a failure was preparing to rewrite the laws of the universe. And soon, the world would never be the same. The equations no one asked for. The patent office was quiet, too quiet for most. But for Einstein it was perfect. There were no professors to challenge, no students to impress, no expectations to meet. Just stacks of mechanical designs and enough mental freedom to wander. And that's exactly what he did. While reviewing patents for electromagnetic devices, Einstein's mind slipped beyond the page. He saw through the gears and wires into a deeper truth, one that no machine could capture. His imagination roamed with questions too large for the small office walls. What if time moved differently for someone in motion? What if simultaneity was an illusion? What if light, the most constant thing in the universe, held the key to everything? He had no lab, no funding, no academic title. But he had an idea. In 1905, he submitted 4 scientific papers to Annalen der Physik, one of the leading physics journals in Europe. He was 26. Each paper was radical. One explained the photoelectric effect, proving that light behaved like particles, an idea so bold it would win him a Nobel Prize years later. Another solved the mystery of Brownian motion, offering proof that atoms actually existed. But the third paper, that one changed the world. In it, Einstein introduced the special theory of relativity, proposing something unthinkable, that time and space were not absolute, but relative, bending and shifting depending on speed and motion. The faster you move, the slower time flows. It wasn't science fiction. It was physics. Few noticed at first. There was no announcement, no fanfare. Yet something had shifted. That same year, he published a one-page paper as a follow-up. It was short, almost too short to matter. But it contained an equation that would echo through history. E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass multiplied by the speed of light squared. In one elegant line, Einstein revealed that mass and energy were interchangeable, that matter, all matter, contained an unimaginable amount of energy, just waiting to be released. But most scientists didn't know what to do with it. The implications were massive, almost unbelievable. Some dismissed it as fantasy. Others ignored it entirely. Einstein didn't seem to care. He kept thinking, kept working, kept scribbling on scraps of paper as the world moved past him. By now, his name had begun to circulate, but faintly, like a rumor. Some physicists had started to take notice. A few professors invited him to speak. But many still viewed him as an outsider, a clerk with ideas too strange for the academic world. He remained in the patent office, waiting for someone, anyone, to understand what he had done. And then, quietly, the first ripple formed. A British physicist referenced his work. Then another. Theoretical circles in Berlin and Vienna whispered about the Swiss clerk who defied Newton. The door had opened, just a crack. And behind it stood a man with no credentials, just a pen, a desk, and a vision that would bend time itself. The day the universe blinked. In the quiet years that followed, Albert Einstein left the patent office. He took a teaching post in Zurich, then another in Prague, then Berlin. Slowly, the world was beginning to listen. But it wasn't until 1915 that he would present his most daring idea yet. General relativity. Where Newton saw gravity as a force pulling objects toward each other, Einstein saw something stranger, something deeper. He claimed that massive objects didn't pull at all. Instead, they warped the very fabric of space and time. Planets didn't orbit because they were tugged. They moved along curved paths in a distorted reality. Time itself, he said, ran slower near heavy objects. Gravity wasn't a force. It was geometry. The physics community didn't know what to make of it. Beautiful, yes. But was it true? Einstein believed it was, and he knew how to prove it. If gravity bent space, then it should bend light too. Starlight passing near the sun should curve, just slightly, on its journey to Earth. But there was only one way to test it. During a total solar eclipse, when the sun's brightness would be briefly blocked, and distant stars could be seen near its edge. That moment came on May 29, 1919. British astronomer Sir Arthur Eddington led expeditions to the island of Principe and the Brazilian coast. 4 minutes, day turned to night. Cameras clicked. Telescopes captured light from stars. And when the data came back, it was exactly as Einstein predicted. The stars had shifted, not by chance, not by lens error, but because space itself had curved. Einstein's theory was no longer theory. It was truth. The headlines were instant and global. Revolution in science. Einstein beats Newton. Lights all askew in the heavens. Overnight, the world knew his name. Reporters crowded his doorstep. His lectures filled to standing room only. Children recognized his face. Politicians quoted him. Journalists called him the new Copernicus. He was no longer a patent clerk. He was the scientist of the century. And yet, through it all, Einstein stayed grounded. He joked about his hair, deflected praise, and smiled humbly when asked about his success. "To punish me for my contempt of authority," he once said, "fate has made me an authority myself." But it wasn't luck. It wasn't fate. It was persistence. It was imagination. It was the courage to ask questions no one else dared. In a world that once called him useless, Einstein had bent space, bent time, and now bent history itself. But as crowds applauded and flashbulbs popped, Einstein's gaze was elsewhere. Because while the world celebrated what he had done, he was already thinking about what came next. The legacy of a questioner. Fame, for Albert Einstein, came not with celebration, but with discomfort. He hadn't chased the spotlight. He had chased understanding. Yet now, he was the most recognized man in the world. His wild hair, gentle smile, and soft voice printed in every newspaper, admired in every classroom. But he never stopped being the curious boy who questioned everything. In 1921, he won the Nobel Prize, not for relativity, ironically, but for his work on the photoelectric effect, the same discovery that helped shape quantum physics. He toured the world, met kings and presidents, and lectured to packed halls. But behind the applause, he remained wary of power. Einstein saw the rise of fascism in Germany and, as a Jew, knew he was no longer safe. In 1933, he fled to the United States, never to return to Europe. He accepted a post at Princeton, where he would spend the rest of his life, not as a celebrity, but as a thinker, walking to work with a pipe in his mouth, socks forgotten, eyes distant. But the world wasn't done with his ideas. As World War II loomed, Einstein learned that Nazi scientists might be building a bomb, using the very formula he had revealed decades earlier, E equals mc squared, the terrifying power of energy hidden in mass. He signed a letter to President Roosevelt urging the U.S. to act first. It led to the Manhattan Project, and eventually to Hiroshima. Einstein was horrified. He had given the world insight. Others had turned it into a weapon. After the war, he became a pacifist, warning against nuclear arms, advocating for peace, and urging global unity. He met with civil rights leaders, denounced racism, and called segregation America's worst disease. To the end, he questioned everything: authority, politics, even science itself. And when he died in 1955 at the age of 76, he left behind more than just equations. He left behind a way of thinking. He showed that curiosity is not weakness, that doubt is not failure, that imagination is the seed of discovery. Today, his name means genius. His face is on posters, mugs, and textbooks. But few remember how many doors were slammed in his face, how many rooms he was told he didn't belong in. He once said, "I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious." The world called him useless. He answered with a universe. Every time someone is told they're not enough, not smart enough, not normal enough, remember the boy who sat alone, imagining light. On screen, a photo of young Einstein fades into an image of stars bending in space. Albert Einstein didn't fit in, so he reshaped the world instead.